Officials believe American detainees could be released as early as next week. What do you make of this deal and the obvious risks involved here?
Well, this is a humanitarian deal to release American prisoners that were held in Iran. I would not personally exaggerate the meaning and the scope of that deal. I think it's mostly humanitarian. Even the amount of money that was released by the U.S. via North Korea and Qatar, $6 billion by the standards of the budget of a state like Iran, it's really not a lot of money, obviously, but I think it's mostly humanitarian, and I don't believe it's really related to the JCPOA itself, because the main focus right now of the Biden administration is really to try and get a normalization agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And everybody knows that another nuclear deal at this point is basically irrelevant, because Iran is already a threshold nuclear country.
So Israel obviously watching any discussions involving Tehran as Tehran carries on with its own nuclear ambitions. You made mention of this elusive normalization down the line, potentially between Saudi Arabia and Israel. How does a situation like this impact that kind of discussion, if at all? How do you see the impact right now?
Well, first of all, it does show that there are contacts between the United States and Iran, indeed on the humanitarian issue, but there are, in fact, contacts. It seems to me that when it comes to the Saudi supposedly normalization agreement, it's more a matter of what the United States is willing to pay for, whether or not a deal is feasible in terms of Israeli domestic politics, whether or not there's trust between the Biden administration and the Netanyahu government. I don't think that this humanitarian deal with Iran would affect the prospective normalization agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. It's more a U.S. interest, a Saudi interest, an Israeli interest. Of course, don't forget that the Saudis themselves renew their relations with Iran via China, so they also are in contact with the Iranians, in fact.
Also something that sparked much concern in this part of the world.